My first episode of 2025 is a big one, as we go back to the very beginning and look at the history of the first of the original Generation 1 Transformers. These are the basics on the egotistical Autobot who thinks he's the most beautiful bot ever built, SUNSTREAKER. The toy that would become the original SUNSTREAKER was first released in the Japanese toy line Diaclone in 1982. Created by designer Koji Ono, it was an historic figure, the very first fully transforming robot toy based on a real-life car. The figure transformed into a Lamborghini Countach LP500S, available in both red and police-themed white and black colour schemes. But it featured one notable difference from the real car. Taking inspiration from the 1977 toy, the Cosmo Countach from Diaclone's sister toy line, Microman, it sported an exposed rear-mounted engine, super-tuned with supercharger air intakes. From these beginnings, many more robot toys that transformed into real-life vehicles and machines went on to be released in both Diaclone and Microman, including a second Countach without a visible engine. Both Countaches were then among the figures licensed and imported by American company Hasbro to become the first year of the Transformers toy line in 1984. Now, initially, Hasbro planned to release the original super-tuned Countach in red and the new Countach in yellow, and it was with this understanding that Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky developed character profiles for the two figures. He decided that they would be twin brothers, and named the red one Sideswipe and the yellow one Spinout, but then changed Spinout to SUNSTREAKER. However, after Budiansky had completed the profiles, Hasbro decided to swap the toys' names and colours, and so for the finalised toy line, released the new Countach in red as Sideswipe and the original in yellow as SUNSTREAKER. Though SUNSTREAKER stickers weren't modified to account for this change, resulting in distinctive patches of red on the figure's shoulders. The profiles were also swapped without alteration, meaning that SUNSTREAKER was described as having weapons based on those of the Sideswipe toy, and vice versa. Budiansky's profile characterized SUNSTREAKER as a massive narcissist, constantly boasting about his skills, looks, and sleek, stylish car mode. But this self-obsession wasn't just ordinary vanity. SUNSTREAKER was a borderline sociopath who had no regard for anyone but himself, even treating his fellow Autobots with contempt. This lack of concern for others also made him one of the most dangerous warriors in the Autobot ranks, cold, calm, and frighteningly ruthless in battle. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this darker side of SUNSTREAKER's personality was largely ignored in the original Transformers animated series, which chose instead to focus on his huge ego. While he never had a dedicated spotlight episode, SUNSTREAKER appeared regularly throughout the show's first two seasons, always trying to make himself the centre of attention by singing his own praises or loudly complaining about potential damage that combat might cause to his paint job or bodywork. But eventually, after his toy was discontinued in 1986, SUNSTREAKER was phased out of the series, making some brief final animated appearances in that year's The Transformers the Movie and the 1987 Japanese original sequel series, The Headmasters. But in contrast to these regular cartoon appearances, SUNSTREAKER saw very little action in the Marvel comic book, which actually sidelined him while his toy was still on shelves. Very early in the series, in only the 5th issue, SUNSTREAKER took a blast from the Decepticon Shockwave that damaged him so badly he was left offline for years, the first of the comic's many major long-term casualties. Though he would appear in a flashback story written for the United Kingdom's version of the comic, which showed that before the war, he had been a gladiator who fought in Cybertron's state games. Eventually, in 1990, SUNSTREAKER's toy was re-released as part of the classic line of reissues available in Europe and Australasia, which led to the character finally being brought back online. beginning with a spotlight adventure in the British comic, in which Sunstreaker's overriding concern for his bodywork nearly spelled his doom in a battle with the Decepticon jets, Thundercracker and Skywarp. While the origin of Sunstreaker's toy makes him a hugely significant figure in the history of the Transformers franchise, as a character, he's come to be eclipsed by his brother, Sideswipe. After the end of the original series, Sideswipe grew to become one of the iconic archetypal Autobots, frequently reimagined into new forms and featured in multiple new series, while Sunstreaker didn't. He's had his share of new toys and merchandise, but to date, he hasn't made any significant appearances in any major new TV shows, films, or video games. But he has at least had some prominent roles in comic books. For instance, Dreamwave Productions comics were the first media to feature the darker, sociopathic side of Sunstreaker's personality, showcasing it in a 2004 story in which he and his brother helped save a small town from the Insecticons. In 2006, IDW Publishing's comics shattered Sunstreaker's ego with a traumatic story arc that remains his biggest role to date. In IDW's universe, Sunstreaker and the Autobots' human ally, Hunter O'Neill, were captured by the human cabal known as the Machination, who used them as test subjects to perfect their Headmaster technology, a torturous process that mentally and physically fused humans and Transformers into one, with Hunter's body being biomechanically re-engineered to transform into Sunstreaker's head. The test successful, the Machination mass-produced an army of evil, human-controlled Headmaster Sunstreaker clones, but Sunstreaker and Hunter were able to escape and foil their schemes. The Autobots were subsequently able to separate the pair, but Sunstreaker was haunted by the experience and became consumed with a desire for revenge against humankind for what had been done to him. Blinded by this anger, he was tricked by the Decepticons into helping them launch a massive attack against Earth, which pushed the Autobots to the brink of extinction. Racked with guilt over his actions, Sunstreaker performed what he thought was one last act of heroism, sacrificing his life to save his friends. But he was later found to have survived his attempted suicide, and once repaired, would remain a recurring character in IDW stories for the next decade, using his new lease on life to finally put his ego behind him and join the effort to build a better future for Cybertron and Earth, and even picking up a pet Insecticon along the way, who he named Bob. The first new toy of Sunstreaker in the 21st century was a recolor of the Lamborghini Autobot Prowl from 2001's Robots in Disguise, released exclusively through the official Transformers convention in 2003. A Sideswipe recolor of the figure was also available, kicking off a brief trend of the brothers sharing designs. It continued into that year's Transformers Alternators, in which the pair were redesigned with Dodge Viper alternate modes, and 2008's Transformers Universe, which featured a new figure engineered with two possible robot mode configurations to help differentiate the brothers. This figure served as the basis for Sunstreaker's appearance in IDW's comics from 2008 onwards. And in 2015, the company also published a story arc to promote the new Sunstreaker released in that year's Combiner Wars toy line, which detailed how the mystical Enigma of Combination gave him the power to merge with fellow Autobots Ironhide, Mirage, Prowl, and Optimus Prime into the giant robot Optimus Maximus. Other significant Sunstreaker toys have included a high-end collector-targeted figure in the Masterpiece toy line in 2017, based directly on his appearance in the original cartoon, and one in 2020's Earthrise, which served as the basis for Sunstreaker's appearance in the new universe introduced when IDW rebooted their comic books, in which he was a follower of the ruthless Autobot general, Pyra Magna. Notably, both these toys were recolored into new characters based on the original Diaclone toy color schemes, the police bot Cordon and the red-armored Spinout, who reused Bob Budiansky's original name for Sunstreaker. Sunstreaker's lack of major appearances outside of comics means there have been few noteworthy alternate incarnations of the character, but some minor examples include one from the world of Transformers Prime and a female version from Transformers Animated, both introduced in ancillary print media for those series. A live-action movie incarnation of Sunstreaker was designed for 2018's Bumblebee movie, but wound up not being included in the finished film. However, in 2024, the concept art was used as the basis for a toy of the character released in the Studio Series line. The same year also marked Sunstreaker's most recent animated appearance, a silent cameo role in the movie Transformers 1. 2025 will see the release of another new Sunstreaker toy in the Missing Link series of highly articulated recreations of original Generation 1 toys. His inclusion in this prestige line serves to highlight Sunstreaker's historical importance as the original Diaclone car robot, the progenitor of the entire Transformers toy line. And really, when you've got a reputation like that, you're probably allowed to have a bit of an ego. And those are the basics on Sunstreaker, the bot who made history and looked good doing it. If you've enjoyed this dive into Transformers history and lore, give me a like and be sure to subscribe for more. Plus, you can get early, ad-free access to new episodes by supporting the show on Patreon.